let's react to Bricky Part 2. Brixie. Because I'm in dire need of watching Part 2. Bless up, Bricky. Cleanse our minds, because I only watched the first half. I need to learn the other ones. We watched Space Marines and the mankind peoples. Now we are watching the other factions. Part 2.
This is part 2 in a 2-part series on the Warhammer races. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, we do the Imperium of Man. You can check that out in the description, and I would highly recommend you watch that to get context for this episode. If you already have, go ahead and keep on watching. So after an entire episode of nothing but humans, we can now talk about chaos, which involves humans again, but a little bit less. We also got demons and shit.
I love demons and shit. Let's go! These are my people. I love chaos and I love demons. Let's go.
I just felt someone grab my ass. Like hard, Nick.
So, as I've mentioned many times before, we've discussed the warp, the immaterium, the hellish landscape, the purgatory dimension realm between the material realm of our existence. Now, in the warp, it's terrifying, horrible. There are demons everywhere. Things are crazy. All your minds and thoughts and emotions get projected there. It is both formless and empty. It is vast and tiny. It obeys the laws of time and physics.
I want to go to the warp. Someone put me in the warp. Someone put me in the warp. I want to live there.
While simultaneously does absolutely nothing of the sort. It is a hodgepodge and a culmination of just unknowable, eldritch, horrifying shit. And there are 4 gods that permeate in chaos and the warp. These are the 4 major chaos gods. And if we were...
They're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. She is fine as hell.
To learn about chaos, we need to learn about each and every single one of these chaos gods. First up, we have Khorne, and he is the easiest. Khorne is your classic Satan. He is all about anger, murder, fighting, blood, guts, death. You ever heard the term blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne? That's Khorne. The whole idea is that he is all about the fury and strength of battle. He doesn't care where blood comes from, so long as blood is flowing. He wants...
I like Khorne. Khorne's my man. Khorne for the corn god. He's great.
Wants to fight and murder and carnage and slaughter and death. That is Khorne. Very simple to understand. Next up, you have Tzeentch, and Tzeentch is the god of change. However, the god of change, it's
why does he have a mouth in his womb? What is happening down there? What is happening? What is he? That's for change? Girl dinner? Alright. It's so the fetus will sustain. What?
Permeates in so many different other ways. He's the most eldritch of all the demon gods. He has this weird way to always be plucking at the strings of the universe. He's always conniving and scheming and doing his best to cause as much little bullshit as he can. Tzeentch is unknowable. Everything that makes sense, he will and
He's got a full tongue coming from his nether region? What that tongue do? No, chat. No. This is... Why has he just got his legs spread? Oh, God. Okay.
Won't do. Every future and setting and every type of destiny or fate is all foretold and also changeable. It is set in stone while also completely random. He knows what everything is going to happen and also that none of it's going to happen. You would ask Tzeentch a question. That question leads to 3 more questions. And those questions lead to the heat death of the universe, which asks 4 answers to those questions. And then he thinks to himself, what are questions even really?
Oh my God. He's me when I'm having an existential crisis. He's when you think about a word too much and then you forget the meaning of the word. That's amazing. He's half my talent. He's half of Glitch Stars.
And are you even asking the questions, or are you simply giving paths to answers and other horse shit? Zeech is just, I'm gonna fuck with stuff. He is.
I'm gonna fuck with stuff. He used to be the strongest god. He literally broke his skull that loses his knowledge so he won't win the game with the other gods, so it continues. Whoa! Hey, he's kind of cool. He broke his own skull just so he could continue playing the game because he got bored of winning. So he's kind of like a fate stitcher. He plucks all the strings of destiny. He controls things. But he's also kind of bored. He's kind of like a gremlin, so he just like fucks stuff up for fun.
Is yes and he is no. He is the understanding and he is complexity. He is unknowable. And that's what the God of Change is about. Very bizarre. And he likes birds a lot.
Me too.
I don't know why. Next up, we got Papa Nurgle.
We got Papa Nurgle. Look at that guy. He's just happy. He's just vibing. He's just happy to be here.
Papa Nurgle, he loves you for who you are. Probably not. He will murder you just the same. But
Oh,
Papa Nurgle
okay.
is about rot, pestilence, death, and decay. He is the end of everything. Him and Zeech do not like each other very much because where Zeech represents change and adjustment, Nurgle represents stagnation and death. He is all about miasma and pestilence and large bloat and pus and organs and people just being sedentary, sloth. He is the idea that everything will rot and decay and die. Nothing is certain besides decay and death. All of us will end up the same way, broken down through just sheer never-ending decomposition. So the joke that Nurgle always loves you is generally because of that, because we all end up the same. We all rot and we all die and wither. That's Nurgle.
So he loves us because we will all become worm food at some point. He loves rot and decay, and he likes rotting corpses. So that's why he's Papa. That's why he loves us, because we all die and rot eventually. We're all his rot children. He would love you even if you were a worm. True. True. I kind of like him. I relate.
Nurgle, and he's got a general theme of course, pestilence and different kinds of diseases and sickness and things of that nature. That's generally Nurgle. He's pretty easy to understand as well, and he chunk. Finally, we have the youngest of the Chaos.
I like how it's immediately censored. Why is it censoring Bricky? Gotta censor those nips for YouTube. You gotta keep it TOS.
Gods, and that is Slaanesh, also known as the Prince of Pleasure or the
Prince of Pleasure. Okay, I see you.
God of unspeakable excess. Slaanesh is generally referred to with sex, but it's not only sex, it's just that's a good avenue if you want to make stuff. Slaanesh is just the idea of the senses of the body being cranked to not just 11, but more like 17. See, we'll discuss Slaanesh a little bit more when we talk about the Eldar, because they done fucked up, but it, or whatever, is mainly about just the excess of emotions.
Oh, has no gender, is all genders. I see. It's everything and nothing at the same time. That's cool. It's like a sexy lady, but it's also this thing.
And therefore, sex is generally a large part of it. However, it's mostly pain and torture. Lots of pain, torture, but sometimes sexually related or drug related. Lots of drugs. Lots of drugs. So that gets off on everything. Extremes in happiness, extremes in sadness, extremes in pain and sadism and masochism. And of course, that goes along with the sex part of it as well. It's generally referred to with sex because of the color scheme, very purple, lots of exposed.
Wait, is purple the color of sex? Am I missing something here? Am I sex coded?
Genitalia. A lot of their models have like exposed nipples and stuff, and that is generally the theme you go for from a physical side, but it really embodies everything, mainly pain and also the excessive amounts of emotion. So when it comes down to it, you'll find a lot of them have things like spikes or whips or any kind of BDSM style gear, because it is unspeakable excess, the prince of pleasure, everything in excess to the point where it is just sheer frightening. That is Slanesh in a nutshell. A little bit bizarre and a little hard to describe sometimes, but as we talk more about the Dark Eldar later in this video, you'll understand it far, far better and far more than you'd want to. Now, you might be thinking, why would anyone ever want to join Chaos? They all look horrifying, screwed up, and just frightening things, right? Well, the thing is that, of course, one, your mind is put into the warp and the immaterium, so you can be easily swayed by chaos demons when they get into your head.
Is that us in the warp? We're just spinning in chaos, and then one of the four like gods will just pick us up and torture us. It's either war, change, pestilence, or sex. Which one do you want, chat? You know what? My favorite so far, and I know I gave him a hard time because of the toothy maw. I kind of like the change guy. I like the eldritch guy. What's his name again? Zinch? I like the guy who's got like a mouth down there. But I really like eldritch, chaos, unknowing horror elements, so I think that's kind of why he strikes my fancy.
Especially if you're a psyker. Sometimes regiments of the less mentally strong people, whether they be civilians or say low-level guardsmen or conscripts, can be easily swayed by this and become chaos cultists and stuff, and they serve their dark gods and whatever god they personally prefer. However, and this might seem strange, chaos in their own right isn't necessarily evil. See, the warp is every manifestation of emotion and being, every soul, everything of existence. This includes all the good things. All the different chaos gods have another side to their coin. Khorne might be death, murder, slaughter, slaughter, but he's also got this weird sense of survival of the fittest, trial by combat, and honor. Khorne will never lie to you. Khorne will never stab you in the back.
Wow, this is like a high value man right here. He will never lie to you. He will never betray you. He will never stab you in the back. Look at him. He's a protector. He's a provider and a protector. It's my kind of man.
Khorne isn't about conniving and scheming. Khorne is about straight up mano, you versus me, get in the ring, we're gonna murder each other hard right now. May not be a good thing.
He will, however, rip you in half, so... Won't stab you in the back, but he might gut you from the front. I mean, I heck with it. Glory to Slanesh, may the ecstasy deliver me. I mean, Khorne is... I always, like, to rationalize this in my brain, I always try to connect these to, like, D&D gods. He's kind of giving me, like, Stormlord vibes. He's just very straight up to the point. He's like, battle, victory, glory, killing, blood, slaughter, one-on-one, fight to the death type guy.
At the end of the day, but it is that other side of the coin. Him and Tzeentch generally don't get along because Tzeentch is that conniving schemer, but he's also about the idea of hope. Where there is change, there is change for your predicament. There is change for your problem. The hope of the galaxy, the ability to bend the world to your will, the idea that your fate is not set in stone, but in reality that you control your own destiny and can control it whenever you want. The changer of ways. That is Tzeentch. And of course, Tzeentch and Nurgle hate each other because while Nurgle does represent stagnation, death, and decay, he also represents finality and ending. The fact that you can be mentally at peace knowing that you will end and how you will end. Fear of the unknown, fear of change.
I like how the gods like hate each other but love each other at the same time. Because they're kind of like opposites. Nurgle. I like Tzeentch. I think that's cute. I shouldn't say cute. I like that how he's like so tricky. I like deceptive god, but he's also like, you can change your life if you believe. Fate is not final. If you try hard enough, you can change your outcome.
Is not present with Nurgle. With Nurgle, everything will rot and die, and that provides that finality, that ability that this is over. We are all the same, and we will all end the same. We know the meaning of life. The meaning of life is to live and die and rot. And with that, it brings peace of mind. Slaanesh is a lot more simple. While they are the excess of emotion, they are also the representation of emotion. Slaanesh embodies happiness. Slaanesh embodies excitement and joy and pleasure, not only in the sense of the physical, you know,
Hubba hubba.
bam, style of pleasure,
Bam.
but also everything else like food and drink and air on your cheek and sunlight, the feeling, emotion and feeling. All of that is also represented with Slaanesh. So you have to ask, why are they always represented as super evil skulls and spikes on everything and want to murder everybody? I don't really got an answer for you on that one. My assumption is that because mentally humans may think worse thoughts, even if we don't act on them, and therefore they're projected in the warp more. That was a little bit weird. I don't know. This is me spit.
Oh, okay. It's also because they probably look cool with all the skulls and stuff. They look cooler. But humans are inherently more negative biased. So it makes sense that our negative thoughts are probably louder than our positive thoughts, and there's probably more negative thoughts than positive thoughts. So that makes the warp more scary. Right? Makes sense.
On right now, but I don't know. You need a super bad guy. You already got the Imperium of Man. You need somebody to be a little bit worse than them. So you got demons. Honestly, who cares? I just
We got
wanna buy,
demons.
like a bird magician. Look at him. So cool. So combining all this together on the tabletop, Chaos Demons are generally very melee based. They run in, go really hard. You have lots of summoning and conjuring, tons of spells. Generally a little bit frail, but they have special saves to make them a little bit stronger. You've got giant demons and smaller demons. You got hordes of little boys and tons of big guys. Demons are as they seem. Demons. Nurgle is slow, Khorne is super scary in melee, you've got Zeech who are far more into psychers and spellcasting, and then Slaanesh who is all melee, really fast but squishy, but in lots of hordes of tons of melee and pain damage, of course. So overall, the demons are a huge part of 40k and a massive threat to almost every single faction with the exception of a couple. However, the big part about demons is also transferred into the other 9 Primarchs we didn't talk about, which are the Chaos Space Marines.
Ooh!
So
There's Chaos Space Marines? So there's normal Space Marines, the human ones, and Emperor ones, and then there's Chaos Space Marines. 9 more Primarchs? Oh, I love the Primarchs.
Horse and all of his boys, all of them in the Primarchs, they have all also become Chaos Boys, and they all...
Oh, right. Okay, it's been a while since I watched the first half. 9 of the original 20 fell to Chaos. That's right. They had like a little rebellion. One of the Primarchs was like, "You're not the boss of me, Dad!" And they went rogue. And there's 2 more we don't talk about. That's true. We had 9 the first time, 9 the second time. That's 18. And then so then there's 2? We do love a little rebellion.
Have their own special Chaos Legions, specializing in so many different things, just like the Adeptus Astartes, the Angels of Death, the regular Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines aren't a whole lot different than the regular Space Marines. They have the same armor, generally the same training and toughness. They just specialize in different kinds of things. And also a lot of the Primarchs have ascended into greater demons? They're demon Primarchs at this point.
Whoa.
Gigantic, horrifying man-demon hybrids that are pretty awesome, if I'm going to be honest. They look really, really cool.
Whoa.
But them and their associated legions that they are a part of are all kind of going out there and causing a large ruckus for everyone else. Considering the raw strength and firepower of a legion of Space Marines, imagine that entire legion just converting to chaos and immediately fighting you. It's generally pretty horrifying. There's a lot of them, so I gotta write them down. But you've got the Emperor's Children with Primarch Fulgrim, loyal to Slaanesh. These people, they are...
What? Is that a face? Is that a face? Oh my. I don't like these guys.
Some messed up people. They're just sensory overload, tons of drugs, tons of torture. And I think Fulgrim is a demon Primarch right now.
This is your Slaanesh, guys? Oh. Oh, okay. It was a face at some point. Oh.
And oh god, I am terrified to see what that man looks like. at least on the tabletop, because the Emperor's children are not good people. You've got the Iron Warriors, which are kind of like opposite of the Imperial Fists, with Primarch Perturabo, I believe is his name. They're Chaos Undivided. They just kind of serve chaos in a general aspect instead of choosing one of the four. But the Iron Warriors are big on the siege and fortification, and they're basically entirely against the Imperial Fists and a major rival. Perturabo, I believe, is also still alive, and I'm also very interested to see what he looks like, because
Perturabo.
Demon Primarchs are badass. You've got the Night Lords with Primarch Conrad Kurz. Conrad Kurz is dead, which is good because he's a sick fuck. But the
Conrad! This is giving me flashbacks to the first time I watched the first half. Didn't I like Conrad? I saw his picture for 1 second and I was like, that's me. That's my man. That's my guy. I don't know anything about him though. Apparently he's sick.
Night
Sick and
Lords are
twisted.
generally about terror, terrorizing people, and terrorism. They're generally about fear, and rightly so. You've got the World Eaters with Primarch Angron still alive.
Oh, nasty! Look at the heads! Ew, they still have like stuff attached. Ew, it's going through their ears! Ah!
Also excited to see Angron. If you think you've known an angry person, Angron is the angriest son of a bitch you will ever know. Angron removed parts of his brain that didn't make him angry, so he could be angrier.
What? What? That's crazy. You mean the necklace? Oh my god.
Angron. Fucker's mad. You have Death Guard with Primarch Mortarion. They actually have their own special codex and their own major army on tabletop. Mortarion himself is actually one of the models. And look at him. Look at him. It's so cool.
He's beautiful. Wow, he's really cool. He kind of looks like, he's kind of giving me like Plague Doctor vibes, but like hella scary Plague Doctor with wings. With eyeballs! Whoa! Is that eyeballs in his wings? That's incredible. Oh yeah, someone painted that. That's incredible.
Looking. Of course, Nurgle based, obviously. So very slow, but very tanky. You've got the Word Bearers with Primarch Lorgar. Lorgar is, I believe, still alive. I don't know what's up with him at the current moment, but the Word Bearers are generally the people who caused all the major problems in the beginning. At least I blame them for it. Little assholes. You got the Black Legion with Primarch Horus. Get fucked, nerd. You've got the Alpha Legion with Primarch Alpha.
What was that about? Nerd.
Farius Omegon. Chaos, I think. And then finally, you've got the Thousand Sons with Primarch Magnus the Nerd. The Thousand Sons also have their own book, just like the Death Guard. Magnus is also a tabletop model. He looks super cool, as you can tell. And they're all super heavily Psyker and kind of Egyptian themed. They look pretty neat. But overall, with all of these Chaos Space Marine factions, you can play as a lot of different ones, but the main ones that you can really work at are standard Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, as well as the Death Guard and Thousand Sons, as they are the most fleshed out, especially on the tabletop at least. See this right here? This is a really good way to describe the Chaos Space Marines. What the thick-headed fools with their broken corpse of an emperor fail to understand is that not only can they never defeat us, but they cannot hide or flee or shield themselves from the triumph of chaos. They are finite and we are unbound, undivided. They must not err, or they shall fall to heresy.
So like the Space Marines and the Chaos Space Marines have beef? Horus fucked everything up and then Super died? Oh. That's why he was laughing at Horus. So Horus sucks. We don't like Horus. And he killed Sanguinus, the hot vampire Primarch. Rude.
Heresy. All who fall join our cause. Every imperial fool who dares to open his eyes is a willing recruit. They strive merely to hold back our fury and might, and it consumes them. Thus, you can see chaos is inevitable. We lurk not only beyond their grasp and at their gates, we lurk within the darkness of their souls, on the tip of their tongues, in their tortured dreams.
Whoa.
We are them, but freed from the shackles of ignorance. We are them, grown strong, evolved. We are them, but so much more. As hardcore as that quote is, the saddest part is they're mostly right. Chaos is basically unkillable. You can probably get rid of Space Marines, a decent amount, the Chaos Space Marines that is, but every soul that dies goes to the warp. every Chaos Soul will end up back in the warp.
Oh.
And depending on how hard you killed them, they will come back at some point. Every demon you banish will return at some point.
Oh.
Chaos is unstoppable. The warp is unending. And while maybe...
Wait, if you kill a demon, it goes back to the warp and it comes back stronger? What if you kill it in the warp? If you kill it in the warp, does it actually kill it? Is it kind of like when you banish something in D&D? You have to banish it on its plane to actually do something to it, or kill it on its plane? Oh. It's demon rules? Except if you're blessed by the Emperor, that's the only thing that can kill them. Interesting. Well, that's a little rough. You have to go to the warp to end them permanently, but going to the warp can make you crazy.
Maybe there is at some point some way to stop them somehow. The resources to do so, the requirements to do so, are so far beyond the reaches of man and the other races at the current moment that really it's just an unstoppable force that just keeps on coming and is just barely being slowed. Chaos is by far the biggest threat. They are without number. They're...
He kind of looks like a mermaid. He kind of looks like Mamie. Mamie, if Mamie was a Chaos Space Marine. That's her color palette. He's kind of pretty.
Legions are everywhere, and yeah, they're pretty scary. So, I promise, we're done with humans now. Let's talk about some Xenos.
Yay! No more humans, only creepy stuff.
Let's talk about the Eldar, or also known as the Eldari, which are a super hyper-specialized and very technologically advanced race of, well, elf people. They were, as well, responsible for the creation of Slanesh. The newest demon god. How'd they do that? Debauchery on a world-ending scale. So back in the day, it was just Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle. And the Eldar are very, very ancient. Millions of years. These Eldar, however, have a bit of a sensory problem. You know, every kind of pain or feeling that you have is a little bit amplified compared to the normal. However, with Eldar, as their race advanced so excessively, and they became so self-reliant, and everything became so easy, there was no requirement for food production anymore, there was no shortages, everything was basically done. Everyone was so comfortable, and that comfort breeded this weird sedation, and that sedation breeded the requirement for more and more debauchery.
What? They got so comfy with their lives, they just wanted to do weird stuff. They're like, well, I'm bored. Let's see what kind of heinous things we can think up to do. That's so funny.
Debauchery!
Debauchery! Debauchery!
When everything you have can be so easily acquired, you will end up down this road of pure debauchery. All of the senses the Eldar had that were so powerful, things like feeling, happiness, sadness, and just evil and good, all needed to be satisfied and satiated. And the desire to satiate these senses grew more and more with worse and worse debauchery. It started off with things like sex and drugs becoming so much more rampant because these are the first things you generally turn to when requirements for living are so easily accessible. It would get to the point that made Sander Cohen in BioShock look sane. All right, this is the kind of debauchery it led to. It was constantly satisfying and satiating these sexual and sadistic or masochistic fantasies that only elevated and elevated, and this was species-wide. People started going down darker, more depraved, and more violent paths as time went on. However, some people didn't entirely take to that. Some of the Eldar were looking at this depraved species that they had become and said, no thanks for me, dog, I'm good.
No thanks for me, dog, I'm good. Wow, that's actually really scary. They made people into living furniture? What? That's so crazy. Do you think that would happen to people, like normal people like us? Do you think we just get bored with our lives, that things are too easy and we just like do insane things to feel something? That's scary to think about. Ah.
And they
I'm halfway there. I'm already halfway there.
To the craft world Eldar. They left on these giant continent-sized starships called craft worlds. They believed in learning the old ways of the Eldar and pushing away from this depravity and debauchery and going back to their main roots. And so they would segment themselves on these giant craft worlds far in the outer reaches of space. They even had this thing called the Webway. Remember what we mentioned about warp travel with the Imperium? Well, the Eldar had something way safer called a Webway. And the Eldar Webway is actually like a pocket dimension kind of thing. And in that pocket dimension, there were also more horrible, depraved groups and clans that would spend their time in there. And if you imagine the debauchery was bad already, these were debauchery X10.
What? What? Oh my god, these people are scary. These are the Eldar? Any Eldar stands here? That's kind of scary. These guys are kind of scaring me. I think these are the worst people we've seen yet, the Eldar. And a pocket dimension overlapped over the galaxy and it's almost infinite in depth and size. This is like Mad Max times 100,000.
So all of this continued and it bloated until Slaanesh just burst forth. All that emotion, all that mental, well, thought processes, I suppose, all of this in such a condensed space. Don't forget, this is all being shot, all their souls as well, into the warp. All this depravity right into the warp. So what happened?
They gooned a chaos god into existence. Oh, this is the Dark Eldar. That makes sense. So there's good Eldar and Dark Eldar, or Light Eldar and Dark Eldar. I see. They were so depraved that they made a new god. They effed a hole in the... Oh my god. Okay.
Boom. Slaanesh was birthed and killed off 90% of the entire Eldar population. Untold trillions.
What?
Trillions had their souls ripped from their bodies and their actual fleshy bodies devoured by Slaanesh demons. The entirety of the Eldar race was eaten alive and their souls consumed to the Prince of Pleasure. All of them got fucked up.
They did it to themselves! They did it to themselves! They gooned so hard they made a new god and that god like consumed 90% of them in payment? That's crazy.
It was so bad that it literally ripped a warp hole into the fabric of the materium called the Eye of Terror.
Whoa.
That's literally this like quasi horrifying gateway portal from the materium and the immaterium right next to Cadia. And it is horrifying.
What happened to Cadia? I forget. Did I get expositored?
So this Slaanesh, also known as She Who Thirsts by the Eldar, slaughtered the entire population except for a couple. Those in the craft worlds were actually not affected by this as they were so far in the reaches of the galaxy. That crazy crack, that birth of Slaanesh only affected the ones in the center. So these craft world Eldar were able to...
We don't talk about Cadia because it still stands? Oh, that was the planet that was torn apart by the warp. Oh, poor Cadia.
escape, but Slaanesh got their sights on them. Every time an Eldar will die, their soul doesn't just pass into the warp naturally. It goes straight to Slaanesh, craft world or not. What about those people in the Webway? Well, imagine that giant birth happening, but they were only able to just barely get a grasp onto you. Slaanesh was just barely able to hold on. These people are the Dark Eldar, or also known as the Drukhari. The Eldar population right now is so massively small. It is minuscule compared to any of the other most of the other populations in the universe. The Eldar are consistently having issues trying to get their population up because as their souls are constantly being hungered by from Slaanesh, they realize their entire species is doomed. and they understand it very well. Since the time of the fall, our race has been haunted by what we, in our reckless pursuit of hedonistic indulgence, gave birth to. Though our dreams once overturned worlds and quenched suns, we are now but fitful shadows clinging to the edge of existence. All the stars in the sky cannot blot out the hateful glare of the red moon's eye. The birthing place of the great enemy pulses with all the malice of a demon that is dreaming, casting its shadow over all we have ever done and all we ever shall. Every twisted strand of fate and casting of the runes leads me to this time, to this place, and it is clear that the final battle awaits me at the ancient Crone worlds, a conflict the likes of which has not been seen since the Monkai warred amongst themselves and their corpse of a seer fell to his traitorous son. Is coming, and all my steps lead towards it, no matter that I walk other paths. I see the stars stained red with the blood of the Monkai, and though their wars do not concern me, I would gladly let them destroy one another. I know that to avoid this fight is to condemn my race to inevitable doom, and though all I see is darkness, I know that I will not flinch from my destiny.
Whoa.
And now let's talk about cute plastic models.
Bro.
Whoa. So the Eldar are doomed? They doomed themselves. They pursued their own, like, gooning and worse things so much that they birthed a god that, like, destroyed them, and now all their souls go to that god and they can't ever recover from that? That's uber depressing. Oh my god. Wow. The Drukhari are Elder that lost all their psychic abilities. Wow, okay.
Oh, I'm straight up not having a good time.
The first playable race we have for the Eldar are the Craft World Eldar and living in those Craft World starships I mentioned earlier. And each of them have their own kind of Craft World, almost like a Space Marine Legion. Each Craft World is in itself its own special kind of group. And the Eldar themselves are very fast and rely a lot on trickery. They are squishy, a bit weak, but they're very in tune as psychers. Tons of psychers across the entire Eldar population, and their weaponry and abilities are fast and extremely hard-hitting, but of course rather fragile.
They're glass cannons.
Brain is an exercise in futility. They are all over the place in confusion and trickery on a whole galactic scale. They fight weird, they think weirder, and Eldar in their own right really rely on this to keep their species alive. They need to think about deception and the strangeness of what they do if they truly want to not be immediately murdered and slaughtered wholesale thanks to their entirely small population. However, I must say that it seems like their population is getting slightly better. These craft worlds hold millions upon millions of people. And as they continually, reproduce and have their craft worlds expand, losing a few people in battle, while hurts a lot, they aren't really losing what's extremely precious to them. It's not like every single death means the death of their species. It seems like they're kind of on the upturn a little bit.
Oh, okay.
They're still a doomed race being sucked into Slaanesh every time someone dies, but they are definitely doing a little bit better than they were before. Eldar are fast, cunning, and what they don't make up for in tankiness, they make up for in extremely advanced weaponry. They also call humans Monkai, which is something I mentioned earlier. That is a derogatory slur for humans in the Warhammer world. Why is it called Monkai? Well, it's because you can't, in your game, call people monkeys.
Oh my god!
On the tabletop, exactly what I said. Not very tanky.
They just, think humans are so stupid? Because they're I guess they're, a super advanced race. And they have, really fancy weapons. Freeze a moment, yeah! True. I see. There's, stupid humans.
Generally pretty squishy, hit like trucks, and move at Mach 5. Fast, hit hard, die fast. Exactly how it sounds. They've been good for a very long time, too. We bring only death and leave only carry on. It is a message even a human can understand. Eldar. So, let's talk about the Dark Eldar.
On today's episode of How Fucked Up is Fucked Up. That's fucked up.
So those people I mentioned in the Webway, in the super deranged cults and the depraved people of the Eldar, in the Webway, they didn't quite get a hold onto them. Slaanesh has them, but it has them on by the pinky finger.
So these are the guys that when all that crazy stuff was happening back home, they're like, peace, I'm out. And they went into the universe, and with their big spaceships, and they like became little like monks or something. Maybe not monks. What's the word? They went far away. So then when Slanesh was born, they're like, told you so. The Drukari just they were in the webway. The craft world. Okay. So these are the ones that are far enough away that they didn't really get Slaneshed. They went to their own pocket dimension. I see. So they're like, have fun with that. I'm out. And they made their own little pocket dimension. Okay.
And they're slowly being consumed by Slanesh, but they found out they can stave her off by doing Slanesh things. The Dark Eldar are by far the worst, most horrifying, disgusting, depraved, and brutal race.
Oh, wait, what? So instead of getting Slaneshed, they get super Slaneshed? They just worship her so that she leaves them alone? Is that it? They just do really horrible, terrible things so that she leaves them alone? Or they leave them alone? Not
in
she.
All of Warhammer 40k. These are entirely a group of people whose full purpose to save their species from extinction, to go into planets, raid them, and take as many slaves as they possibly can to torture them for 1, 5, 10, 20, a million years, because that torture will keep them from dying. They look very BDSM style too.
They don't worship her, but they give her snacks to keep icy. They hate icy. Wow, that's really messed up. Also, why do they look so hot? Because they're the most evil? Yeah, it's a begrudging worship. Dark Eldar do all these horrible things just to keep Slanesh away, but they hate Slanesh.
They definitely have a lot more spiky bits, and they have a lot more of that kind of leathery black look to them. But let's say you are an upstanding Imperial citizen, living life on a regular planet. You get invaded by the Necrons.
Oh.
The Necrons will shoot you with a deatomizer, and you will be destroyed in a millisecond, and that's it. Not the worst way to go.
Disintegrate.
You are invaded by Chaos Marines or something. You take a bolter shot to the head or a chain sword across your stomach, and you get cut in half. Painful, but not the worst. The Orcs arrive. They beat you to death. Hurts, but, you know, whatever. Tyranids, they eat you alive. It's pretty rough. The Dark Eldar. This is going to get a little graphic. I apologize. You pray you die. You don't. You are instead taken as a human slave. Your life will be endless work and agony, 24/7. They will make sure you can't not die, as your pain satisfies them. They will hook you up to all manner of torture devices. They will inject pain-based stimuli drugs directly into your nervous system. They will slowly run razor blades across your skin. They will fillet you and pull out your teeth and your fingernails one by one. They will remove your appendages and your skin and wait for it to grow back so they can do it again.
Oh my god, what? Okay, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah, that happened to my buddy Eric. Oh my god! So they're the type to keep you alive so they can continue torturing you. Oh my god.
They will murder and torture and use the R word, it rhymes with grape, your entire family in front of you, and do the exact same thing to them. You yourself will also be rhymes with grape anywhere and everywhere possible, and this will occur for 20 years until you are no longer satisfying to them. And then you will be contorted, crushed, and twisted into some form of trophy, a fleshy trophy, or a ring, or a couch, or a TV stand, or perhaps a wonderful hat, while you are, of course, still alive and breathing.
How?
And you will become a moaning, fleshy trophy for eternity.
What? What? How did they do that? They're like, I'm bored. Let's turn this one into a sofa cushion. Yep, that'll look good there. science magic? That's crazy. They just keep you alive forever as like a little flesh trophy. What? They warp your molecules into a new form? I mean, that might not be so bad. That might not be so bad. You tell me I don't gotta work anymore? I don't gotta cook dinner? I can just be someone's couch cushion? You become the goon couch? Oh no! Yeah, what do you want to be warped into? Oh, you still feel things. Well, okay, that could be a problem. It doesn't sound so bad now, right? I could just be a doormat that everyone wipes their boots on, and I'd be okay with that. I'm already submissive enough.
And that is what happens when you are taken by the Dark Eldar. They are the most depraved, most horrifying race in all of 40k. They look the part, and they do it so they all don't die. They are literally forced to do this, because if they don't, Slaanesha's grip will get harder, and they will have their souls pulled away. So long as they keep doing this, Slaanesha's like, "You're doing good, man. You're doing solid. You keep that shit up, you elf-eared bastards." That's the Dark Eldar. That's the Drukhari.
Wow.
They are horrible. On the tabletop, they're actually kind of like Eldar, but more extreme. They are even squishier than the Eldar, but they hit generally even harder. Fast attacks, skirmishers, really quick, speedy, like get around them, do a lot of damage, get away kind of stuff. That's mostly the Dark Eldar. Look at the definition of...
They're like, hit them fast and hard and then scatter. Or die, because they're like glass cannons. Interesting. They sound like they would be good to actually play. They sound strong.
Grim Dark in a dictionary, you'll find a picture of the Dark Eldar. And Sev from Republic Commando. A quote from Mr. Vecht. "We are the lords of despair, masters of terror. Dread and agony are our meat and wine, and they are plentiful indeed."
He sounds so happy.
Dark Eldar. Let's talk about the Harlequins. Clowns.
What's the matter, Andy? Don't you
Oh.
want to have some fun?
Scary
The
clowns.
Harlequins are a bizarre race of Eldar. They're demonic clown performers. They're like a weird mix of Sander Cohen from BioShock and Jin from League of Legends, but in a more clown theme. They're artists of death and perfecters of their craft. They do not belong to Craft Worlds or any of the weird Drukhari people. They guard something called the Black Library, which is this giant tome of never-ending knowledge deep in the heart of the Eldar webway, and also guarded by their god named Kegorok, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He is the laughing god, but it's the Eldar laughing god? And these are the Harlequins, the Harlequin clowns. These are Eldar clowns, okay? So imagine the things that an Eldar, these depraved individuals, would find fun.
Okay, that art goes so hard though. Like, Dark Eldar scare me. I don't really like them because they scare me, but they look really cool. Like, is that like a miniature? Can you get a miniature of that? Because that's really heck. Oh my god, is that like a tray of eyeballs it's eating? They're cool looking. They're cool looking. Scary, but cool looking.
And this is the god of that. It's a horror clown. These are gods of horror for us normal people. For them, they're like, oh, it's so funny. They're all dying horribly. Honk, honk. They're very bizarre and difficult to describe. They've escaped the ruinous powers of Slaanesh somehow, but their main thing is guarding that Black Library. And the Harlequins just... they're demon clown performers. They're barely any models on the tabletop. They're good in melee. They're demon clowns.
They're just doing their own demon clown thing. They're like, this is a horrible, like, evil, messed up god, but look, he's so funny. It's just a little guy. Honk, honk.
I'm not sure. I got a quote. "It is too easy for an Eldar to embrace the obscene virtues of chaos, for Slaanesh is nothing more than a manifestation of the Eldar mind in its most wild and unconstrained form. Human morality is meaningless to the Eldar, and to the dark side of the Eldar mind, all life is to be expended at a whim. Cruelty and generosity are but the impulse of a moment. Beauty and sensuality are virtues that can be expressed in bloodshed just
Ooh.
as easily as in song. To an unfettered Eldar mind, there is neither sanity nor madness, but merely a wave of perfect existence fulfilled by its own savage momentum. They're very strange. The Harlequins, Drukhari, Eldar, they are an anomaly that make humans seem completely easy to understand in comparison. They range from rekindling their civilization to horrifying murder and also clowns. They're all over the
And
place,
also-
but honestly, they represent quite well and are rather interesting, especially with the whole Sonesh murdering everyone bit. So, yeah, Eldar. Now, bugs.
Ma, they following me, Ma. They following me.
Bugs.
These the bugs.
The Tyranids. Now, you want to talk something a lot more fun, a little more simple than all this crazy Eldar shenanigans? Let's talk the Tyranids. They're bugs. Do they look like Zerg? Hell yeah, they look like Zerg. You want to know why they look like Zerg? Because they were actually supposed to be what Zerg were.
Oh yeah, the Zerg from StarCraft, right? I remember Kerrigan? That's exactly what I thought this was. Sexy bugs. Sexy bug ladies.
Apparently, StarCraft was supposed to be a 40k game in the beginning,
Ah.
hence why they look so much like Eldar, Zerg, and the Imperium of Man.
That's so funny.
Like, kind of space marine-y, those Marines, huh? They look a little...
I literally thought the reason I never got into Warhammer was because I literally thought it was like a knockoff of StarCraft. And I didn't really like StarCraft. There's no Kerrigan. Oh, they're just bugs. There's no sexy bug. The Nids are kind of like what if Alien from the Alien movie could travel space on its own. Oh, yeah, okay.
A little bit space marine-y to me. Maybe. I don't know. You really fucked up on that one, Games Workshop, didn't ya? Tyranids are a giant infestation of unfathomable proportions. These are giant, extremely bio-advanced hive mind organisms.
This is like, wait, is it Starship Troopers? Where they go to like space and battle giant bugs? This is what this is. Wait, there's fan art of Nids with titties? Didn't need to know that.
That are basically all about absorbing as much biomass as they possibly can to evolve and mutate to be extremely potent and powerful and kill and eat anything in their path. They are probably the least evil faction in all of 40k because all they want to do is eat shit. They want to nom nom the entire galaxy. They hangry and we food. Also, this Tyranid hive mind has a presence in the warp. In fact, Tyranids in their own right have a massive presence in the warp. They have a thing called the shadow in the warp specifically, where when they are coming in to invade a planet, they have this weird ability to kind of cut off the warp on all the psychers on that planet. And how do you get help across the stars? Well, you need the warp because you need that for interstellar travel. So with people unable to call for help from the Tyranids, these are just easy pickings. And an entire giant Tyranid hive fleet comes out of orbit and just will massacre, absorbing all that biomass and turning them and all of their other Tyranids into even more advanced monsters. They come in so many varieties too, all based on what is important. Tiny little ripper swarms for scouting and having little dudes eat people up, to the Hormigons, Termagants, and Gene Stealers, all the way to the Hive Guard and the Exocrines and the Swarm Lord, to Hive Tyrants and their giant battle fleets, and even something as crazy as the Hierophant Bio Titan. The Tyranids come in all forms and sizes depending on what they require. They are extremely good at anti-biological weaponry. There is no way you can plague them or blight them. They have extremely strong armor, carapaces and such. Tyranids are nigh perfect organisms and are pretty spooky when it comes down to how they handle all of their genetic material. Keep feeding them, they'll keep evolving. They keep on creating new horrifying organisms to spread across the galaxy. And you know what the most terrifying part of the Tyranids is? We might be surrounded. There have been like around 6 or 7 Tyranid hive fleets. Behemoth, Kronos, all these different kinds of hive fleets. And they've all arrived in the galaxy from different points. Different sections of the Milky Way galaxy have had different Tyranids come through.
That's actually really scary. The bugs are gonna take over the galaxy. Tyranids are gonna take over the galaxy. We're all just like interfighting and the Tyranids are just like creeping in on us. That's scary. I wonder if they're all hive mind connected. Or do they each have different hives? That's interesting. They're technically the smartest race in the universe, just not the galaxy from what we understand. Well, I guess if they keep adapting based on what they absorb, they could become... like, nothing could stop them. They're all connected, that's why they're so smart. Oh my god, that is scary! They'll just keep adapting. They're like AI. Hive mind is one and maybe stronger than the Chaos God. Wow.
And that is horrifying because as far as we know, we could just be surrounded on all sides by Tyranids. The only reason you may not hear a whole lot about Tyranids is because it's a little bit hard to have a bunch of story off of one hive mind genocidal monsters. All these giant bugs swarming in, killing and eating everybody and evolving. Oh, I mean, as cool as there are, there's some cool characters, the Swarm Lord, Old One Eye. You can't really have a whole bunch of major character-based stories around them. As awesome as they are, they're simple. They want to eat you. They want to eat you and absorb your biomass. They are simple bugs. If you want something a little more complex, talk gene stealer cults.
I can have all the pot I want, I get around faster than walking, and wherever I need a seat, I can just sit on my balls.
Gene
What? I don't know if I like the word gene stealer. That's a little scary. The image behind him with the tentacles reaching the Milky Way's canon. Oh my god, that's crazy!
Stealer cults are a special brand of Tyranid that can slowly infect themselves into different kinds of society. And by infecting them, they can rise up to where they all pray and believe in these regular humans, pray and believe into their Tyranid hive mind gods. And these brood lords and I think they're called patriarchs all can turn an entire world all based into gene stealers.
Whoa!
And these are called gene stealer cults. An entire hive world of the Imperium can be turned into nothing but servants to the Tyranid masters just by infecting them and screwing with their genetic code a little bit.
Creepy!
They also have this cool like Mad Max look, which is really neat. They are definitely one of the bigger threats to the Imperium besides Chaos. I keep saying biggest threat to the Imperium. They're up there though, because you, dingus, stepped on a bug in middle school. Asshole. There is a cancer eating at the Imperium.
Nids will remember that. The Tyranids will remember that.
With each decade, it advances deeper, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose that functions on an unimaginable galactic scale, and all we can do is to try to stop the swarms of bioengineer monsters it unleashes upon us by instinct. We have given the horror a name to salvage our fears. We call it the Tyranid race. But if it is aware of us, it must know us as nothing but prey. Tyranids, they're cool. But are they as cool as the orcs?
Yeah, orcs, let's go! I love orcs. I'm an orc lover. I love the Warcraft orcs. I just love orcs. I hope these orcs are cool, because orcs are pretty cool.
Every screen's gone red. That means I'm super fast.
Orcs. I fucking love orcs.
I love orcs too, Bricky!
So, yes, the green monsters, the green tide, the green skins. These orcs.
They're my people, look. They're my people, look. I see a similar color palette. Orcs are great. They're just loving life.
They are, in fact, a race in 40K. The orcs are as exactly what you expect them. They have archaic weapons, they're big boys, they have axes, and they have got big old teeth, and they want to kill everything, and there are so many of them. The only reason they haven't taken over the entire galaxy is they can't stop murdering each other. Orcs are so cool. Orcs don't have philosophy.
It's a pirate orc! Let's go! They're just happy boys. They're just happy to be out there fighting and killing things.
philosophy. Orcs don't have existential crisis. What matters is who's the biggest orc. You listen to that guy because he's the biggest orc. He big orc. Big orc knows best. You win through the power of imagination. Of all the races I have battled throughout the galaxy, the orc is the hardest to comprehend. They wage war with machines that should not work, care little for strategic gains, and are just as likely to slaughter each other as the enemy. How does one battle an enemy that defies all
That's
logic?
funny.
As an orc,
It's like they're so stupid they don't have logic. They just want to fight. Fight each other. Fight other people. Big orc smash. Me, big orc. They do not believe in brakes in their vehicles. Oh my god, I love them.
you're enjoying life. You're enjoying the life you're given. Your whole life and job and purpose is to get up and beat each other to death because you can. The biggest orc is the man who understands everything. He is the boss. And orcs have this really weird, like, big, dumb, stereotype British accent.
What?
Which is just hilarious to me. Those are orcs. You fight. You like to fight. Your whole purpose is to fight. You wage war because you want to wage war. You got your boss over there, and you better listen to the boss, because if you don't listen to the boss will squish you and make you an example for the other orcs. And then you can't fight because orc dead. And orc dead can't fight because orc dead. Orcs.
Whoa.
They scrap together machines out of parts that don't make any sense, and because they believe, they have the mental imagination that that machine will run, it'll run. If that machine's out of gas, you're driving that machine with your fellow orcs, and the biggest orc is behind the wheel, and you run out of gas, some orc behind you is like, oh, Zog, we're out of gas. And the big orc is like, no, we're not. I filled the fucking gas tank up earlier. And all the other orcs are like, oh yeah, you did do that. And then you turn the fucking mech back on, and it works again.
What? Are orcs master manifestors? What? They believe so hard that it just became reality. I love them. I love them. Actually, yes. True. Something you doing? I just love them so much.
Does it have gas? Probably not, but it works through the power of imagination.
Yay.
They paint things red because it makes them think they goes faster. They paint things purple because it's the sneakiest color. You want to know why? You ever seen a purple orc? Didn't fucking think so. Orcs are also like ancient as hell. They're back in the Eldari time frame.
Wow.
Back then they were called Krorks, and they were much larger and scarier and far more intelligent. Now they're just orcs, and they're big, dumb, and they smack things. But they're pretty spooky. They're not very well armored, but they hit really hard. And it's called the Green Tide because there are so many orcs. There are about as many orcs as there are Tyranids. Maybe more.
Oh.
Who knows? But they keep on, murdering each other.
Do orcs just like get freaky a lot then? Why is there so many orcs? They just like kill and boink? What? How does this work? They're fungus? What?
So it's not too bad of an issue. Orcs are entirely comic relief. Their stuff is slapped together. That makes no sense. Their vehicles don't work the way they're supposed to, but they work because they think it works, because they imagine that it works. Orcs care only about who is the biggest orc, and they will follow the biggest orc. And then if they want to be the biggest orc, they'll challenge the biggest orc. And then when they go and they issue a wa is just war in orc, they murder everyone.
A wa is just war for orcs. A wa. I just love them so much. They're mushrooms, they're fungus. Wow. Crocs used to be theoretical physicists, but now they're orcs. Amazing. Get it? Because they're British and they can't pronounce... oh, so orcs are like, give me a bottle of water and go to war.
Everybody and everything in this giant tide of green orcs who are just excited to be hitting something. They don't care that they're hitting Eldar or the Imperium or Tau or anyone in between. They're just so they get to beat shit up. That's orcs. And on the tabletop, they are a total coin flip, and they're really fun. I have never met a salty orc player. I have never met someone who plays orcs and is ever just a bad guy or that guy. Orc players have this kind of fun to them because when you play them, you are completely submitting yourself to RNG. So here's the
I
thing.
love it! I love it! I want to play orcs! Oh, I heckin' love RNG. It reminds me of like wild magic. You never know what's gonna happen. It could be horrible or it could be amazing, but it'll be fun. Either way, it'll be fun. They yell Daka Daka when they shoot because it sounds like guns. Daka 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 Daka. More Daka!
Guardsmen, Imperial Guardsmen, when they shoot, they roll a dice, and on a 4 up, they'll hit their target. They have a 50% chance.
Okay.
Space Marines, pretty good. They hit on a 3 or higher because they're well trained. Adeptus Custodians, they hit on 2s because they're just super well trained. Orcs, they hit on a 5 or higher. But if they roll a 6, they get to make another shot with anything. From the dinkiest pistol to the biggest rocket launcher. It doesn't matter. Half of their stuff will blow up on a whim. One of their medics, if you roll a 1 to heal someone, you fuck up your surgery and you just kill an orc. They're so wacky and silly. But the thing is if you roll well, you roll high, and you keep rolling high, you are going to crush
Oh, I
people.
love this.
And if you don't, you lose. I mean, that's what you get when you play orcs.
I love it.
That's what happens when you play orc. It's a coin flip, which is why you can't be a salty bitch when you play orcs, because things won't go your way. It's just the roll of the dice. You're playing a dice game. But if you're going to have fun and you want to be stupid and you want to be silly, you're going to play some damn orcs. But on the opposite side of the fun part of this, let's talk about the Necrons.
Ooh, Necrons. They look cool. Skull Bros.
The Necrons are spooky, scary skeletons and very grimdark again.
Yay!
They have a much more fleshed out lore than before. Back in the day, they were just undead Egyptian space terminators, and they still look that way, but now they actually have a story. So way back in the day, you had the Necron tier. Kind of see a theme here: Eldari, Eldar, Krork, Orc, Necron, Necron tier. So the Necron tier were this race of generally kind of shitty people. Not because they were personally shitty, because their lives were awful. They were ill-fated to a horrible existence of like radiation and a terrible planet they lived on, and everything just really sucked. Being a Necron tier was just really depressing.
They had space cancer. Oh, sad. So the Necrons were just like poisoned continuously and lived in like a radioactive wasteland.
They really were looking for immortality. They were extremely reliant on the hope that they would eventually find the key to living forever and just stave off this horrible nature that they were thrust upon them, and therefore they could become the most dominant race in the galaxy.
Oh.
And they found this group. They're called the Old Ones. Imagine them kind of like the Forerunners in Halo or the Xel'Naga in StarCraft, right? These Old Ones were these strong, pretty much omnipotent beings, and they, of course, knew the key to immortality. So the Necrons went to them and said, please, show us your ways. And the Old Ones said, piss off.
The Old Ones were like, how about you get fucked? I mean, I don't blame them.
They were a lot more humble about it, but they did not want to share their secret of immortality with the Necrons. The Necrons, of course, took this very well and waged war with them, kind of under this united banner. The Necron different dynasties didn't really like each other, but under this one man, the Silent King, he thought the best way to unite his race was to do this giant war with the Old Ones out of spite for them keeping the secret of immortality to them.
I love the Necrons so far. They're like such spiteful, like smarmy. They're like, we will wage this war just out of pure spite and because we're bitter. The Necrons have some of the best books. They're cool. I like them. Yeah, they're very petty. I love petty.
This was known as...
So they like hate each other. They the clans, I guess, they don't really like each other, but they will unite under the same hated enemy out of spite. I love it.
The war in heaven, and this is actually like a multi-stage war, because during this war in heaven, they discovered the Star Gods, a whole new race of people.
Why is a Star God got a 6-pack? Why does Star God look like that?
As the Catan or the Catan. These star gods were also very much like old ones, almost omnipotent beings, and they too had the key to immortality. And so the Necrons went to them and said, hey, can you help us?
Wait, the Necrons found another race of gods that have immortality? Holy, the Necrons are getting lucky. So the first guys turned them down. Now they're going to these star gods being like, hey, do you want to share? If I was a god, I would have abs too. Fair, true, and real. I mean, why not?
Fight off the old ones. Can you help us kill these old ones? You, the Catan. And the Catan
Oh, the
said
Catan.
yes. And in fact, we can help provide you with the immortality you so desperately seek.
Oh.
So the Silent King of the Necrons decided to make a pact with the Catan to allow them to accept this generous gift of immortality upon them. But this, of course, had been a horrendous trap. And the Necrons were...
I mean, how did they not know that was a trap? They're just like, hey, can you give us immortality? And also, can you, like, fight this war with us? And they're like, yeah, sure. They're like, great. Okay. Sounds legit. I mean, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? Desperate. Oh, I guess they were desperate for help, so they just accepted it. Oh my god. Of course it's a trap, you bozos!
Were dragged in chains to this biotransference where their flesh was stripped from them, replaced with nothing but a metal hollow shell, as their souls were ripped from their body and fed to the Catan. And the Catan fattened up. They got chonk on the souls of the Necrons. As this was their plan all along, they consumed the flesh and souls of the Necron tier and turned them all into unwilling robotic slaves just to serve their will. And then with their new-founded Necron army, they pointed their guns at the old ones, and the Catan continued their domination of the stars and their genocide, complete and full genocide of these old ones. The old ones did their best.
Holy heck! So the Catan were already fighting the old ones, and they like set this whole thing up so they could defeat the old ones and like completely erase them? What? The Necrons were a galactic-sized empire, so we're talking zillions here. They got every single one? Wait, they got every single one? One guy made a deal with them and they all got their souls ripped out? Oh, damn. That's gotta feel bad, man.
Best to stave it off. They even created other races, the Eldari and the Orcs, to try to fight off the horrifying Necron army and the...
What? They created these races too? The Catan created these ones? Or the old gods? I missed that part. Let's rewind.
On the souls of the Necrons. As this was their plan all along, they consumed the flesh and souls of the Necron tier and turned them all into unwilling robotic slaves just to serve their will. And then, with their new-founded Necron army, they pointed their guns at the old ones, and the Catan continued their domination of the stars and their genocide, complete and full genocide of these old ones. The old ones did their best to stave it off. They even created other races, the Eldari and the Orcs, to try to fight off the horrifying Necron army.
The old ones created the Eldari and the Orcs to help fight off the Necron army. Wow, that's cool. So this war started with the old ones and the Catan. They're the start. Wow. They were all dragged in chains to the chambers of biotransference. Wow. Wait, did anyone escape though? Because that would make a pretty good storyline if one of them escaped and became like a super Necron.
And the Catan above them, but there was absolutely no possible chance for them. And the old ones were absolutely extinguished across the galaxy. Their entire race completely removed. Full-on 100% genocide. However, during all this, the Catan, so just infatuated with their victory, started fighting each other for fun, for sport, and for small differences.
This is like a common theme in Warhammer. They just like get bored of all the war crimes and start fighting each other and making more war crimes for sport. This happened millions of years ago? Ah, okay. Yeah, I guess if it was between the old ones and the Catan, and then they made the other races out of that. The orcs used to be super advanced, but they devolved as a consequence of the war ending. What? Really?
Doesn't
Oh.
matter. The Catan, with these overpowered people, they're going to eventually hit each other at some point.
Yeah.
And as they began just menially fighting each other, the Eldari and the orcs actually started pushing on the Catan's borders a little bit, giving them a little bit of a run for their money. And as this continued, this is when the Silent King, who retained his consciousness, decided to leap into action and start a full-scale revolt against their Catan masters. And this
Whoa! Silent King, let's go? So the Silent King was the only one to retain his, like, consciousness after this? That's cool. I like the Silent King, he's cool.
revolt was bloody as the entire Necron army was surged off to destroy these star gods. They were able to, just after suffering horrendous losses, were able to turn the tide of the war.
Wow.
And they took these Catan and they blasted them. Because as these star gods are unkillable, they were able to break them into thousands of shards and entrap them in giant stasis vaults to now actually be slaves to the Necrons. And with the Necrons having the entirety of their old gods enslaved to them, they realized that soon their race was about to be attacked by the overcoming new races, the Eldari and the Krorks. And so what they did is they retreated into giant stasis tombs in order to preserve their energy and their strength for when one day they would be reawakened and they would be able to rule the galaxy that was rightfully theirs.
Wow.
And then some dingus Adeptus Mechanicus guy diddled with a...
And then some guy opened the wrong door and he really hecked up. Is that what we're gonna find out here? Some guy went meddling where he wasn't supposed to meddle, and it's always the Mechanicus. Because they're so curious, right? They're like into science and stuff. He yearned for the tombs. Oh my gosh, it's always one heckin' guy. Necrons have some of the most interesting characters. There's one that basically plays Pokemon with gods and powerful people. Ah, okay, Necrons are really cool.
Green console, and now the Necrons are back, and they see all these primitive races on their lawn.
Oh my god, Necrons are cool! Necrons are cool. They're so, like, highly advanced. They're so old. They've been through hell and back, and they awaken to these, like, little Mechanicus people fucking around their tombs. They're probably like, who are you guys?
And they think, get the fuck off of
Yeah.
this. The Necrons are back, super advanced, and they are here to reclaim the galaxy that they so rightfully believe is theirs. Now, at tabletop, they're a lot like that. Tons of undead Egyptian skeleton robots that when they die, they just get right back up because they keep on reanimating. Hard to kill, tons of crazy stuff.
They also suffer from dementia, so they're like the grandpas of the game. They're like the old grandpas. They're like, back in my day. But they're also like really cool, advanced.
You can use the Catan themselves as units to fight with. It's pretty cool. The Necrons are one of the three major events in 40k. The Horus Heresy, the Fall of the Eldar, and the Awakening of the Necrons are all pretty substantial events. And the Necrons themselves are pretty dang cool as well. Here's a good quote from a wonderful Dawn of War game. Lucky creatures, as long last you have found the tranquility of death. I was like you once, clinging to life and blind to the truth. When I uncovered the truth, I too shuddered and paled with fear. Deep in these catacombs, I was remade. Here, my brethren slumbered for eons while the living grew like weed. My Lord knew this day would come. He had plans for us all. We would purge this world once more. So come, poor victims of life. We will grant you tranquility in these crypts. Kronos will be a tomb world once more. Necrons are also pretty smug. Trays in the Infinite especially.
Mr. Steal Your Girl! Oh my god, I love them. They're so funny. That's my guy.
little dickhead. But speaking of dickheads, last race
All right, guys, Necrons. I'm all in on the Necrons. I love them. I love the story. I love how tragic it is. I like how they came back. They had a little comeback arc. I like how they're like grandpas and they're like, "Get off my lawn. We were here before you, and I can't remember why, but back in my day, we walked uphill both ways." They're also really fun to paint if you want a project. Necrons have really cool models. I love Necrons. I'm a Necron. I'm a Necron girl. I love them. I really like the orcs too, but I just kind of love how smart, how smug and like snarky and like petty they are. Like Necrons are just great. I love them. Necrons are great.
Tau.
We made a fucking Wookiee.
The exact formation of the Tau Empire is not entirely understood. However, a long time ago, many thousands of years ago, in the 40K world that is, some Imperial navigation vessels were going around through different areas, and they saw a primitive race, blue people, smacking each other with sticks and stones.
Okay.
Yeah. Dumb Xenos race, who gives a shit, and they bailed. Then this giant warp storm occurred.
Bricky? Looks nice.
Right in that major area, unable to be breached. Then, once that warp storm 6,000 years later subsided, hello, those little sticks. Well, they decided to actually have no war of any kind and all just unite together under one flag of the Tau Empire. And now they have gigantic starships and Gundam robots and lasers and railguns and mech.
What? How did they go from hitting each other with sticks and stones to uniting and making Gundam mechs? I love the Tau because I'm a weeb and I see mechas. Though ideas the warp might have accelerated time. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. That's unique.
Mechs, and they are here to ruin your day for the greater good. That is generally the Tau Empire.
For the greater good.
Kind of feeling of this homogenous group. All species can go underneath the banner of the greater good. The greater good is their idea of the fundamental increase and help of all. In fact, they are most likely the most like the Covenant in Halo, where they have the overarching prophets, being the ethereals, who are actually kind of dicks and like to pull at strings a little bit, but then you have all these different races directly underneath them, and they all work together in this big group as this large, foreboding race that tries to spread their weirdly pseudo-religious influence across the galaxy. The alien is not intrinsically evil.
They are space communists, I would argue. Ah, yes, Star Wars. That's what I was thinking. They were reminding me of something. They remind me of Star Wars. So they're like an alien race that do things for the quote-unquote greater good, which is basically they can do whatever they want if it's for the greater good. I see. They took the coolest part of the Tau army out of their codex, though. Rip the 8. I have to look into that.
Do not hate him. Pity him, his ignorance. Seek to understand his differences and equate him with his inadequacies. Only then will he accept his place in the greater good. That is generally the Tau. And if you're kind of wondering like what their mainly big shtick is, well, they're all about big robots and mechs. They have laser rifles and rail guns. They got giant mechs with tons of missile pods and heavy rail rifles and rail guns and burst cannons and ion accelerators and void shields and all this stuff. And that is generally what the Tau's all about. But you're probably thinking, Bricky, this doesn't sound that evil.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound very grim, dark Warhammer. And you'd be right. The Tau Empire really don't have that much of a horrifying, grim, dark style like everybody else. They're much more younger, new age thing. In fact, they're probably a lot.
Yeah, they seem more like futuristic. They seem more like mecha stormtrooper-esque, like laser rifle type. They don't seem that bad, honestly. They don't seem that bad.
A lot less evil and a lot even better than they are now back in the day, because they liked having like that good guy faction. But a lot of us who really like the dark, depressing style of Warhammer didn't really like it that much. So, see, the Tau get a lot of hate, and a lot of that hate isn't necessarily unjustified. It's mainly from a tabletop perspective, but as you can see from all the visuals I've shown you recently, they don't really fit in the 40k universe very well. They lack that super dark, dramatic, kind of high gothic level the Imperium has. They don't have the weird kind of like grungy stuff that Chaos or say the Orcs do. And the Necrons and the Eldar have their own specific style as well. The Tau really do look like something out of Gundam. And while it isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does definitely not fit too well. There's that. There's also the tabletop problem. In tabletop, Tau are horrible at melee combat, but exceptionally good at ranged combat. So they blast everyone from really, really far away, and they have a million rules to make it so that it's nearly impossible for you to get into melee combat.
Oh, so they're the no fun army. You can't have fun when we play. We'll just pew 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 from far away and no fun for you. You can't do your stuff against us. In tabletop, they play like absolute dicks. The Tau exist to contrast the grimness of the rest of 40k. They react like how we would react when we saw 40k. Ah, true. That's a good point. They have shields that block ranged attacks and guns that wipe out your platoons. Oh, they're no fun. They're no fun. So they're like really good. But we're not gonna let you play your guys. We're just gonna block everything and then kill you from far away.
Combat. So it basically just forces you to bottleneck the game into one specific gameplay style, which is gun to gun. And if you're doing gun to gun, they're gonna win every time because they're the Tau, and the Tau are really damn good at shooting. So it's one of those things that make the Tau generally rather hated, and a lot of different reasons for that, both from style and such. But this is actually one of the things I wanted to end this video with, is that the Tau, while they have their issues, you should not be discouraged from playing them. I'll make plenty of Tau weeaboo jokes, of course I will, but it's all generally in good fun. Anyone who legitimately doesn't want you to play a faction is an idiot, and you shouldn't be giving them the time of day.
That's like when I tell people I play Kashtira. I'm allowed to play my Kashtira, okay? Don't judge me. The Tau are a race that's in the process of becoming grimdark as they learn about the galaxy they are in. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. That's yeah, it's like us put in the Warhammer universe. We just become more evil as we learned how evil everyone else is. We become jaded, so the Tau are becoming jaded.
You pick what you think is cool and what you like. In Warhammer, especially now, factions get better and they get worse. They grow and then they fall. You should only be playing what you think is cool. You like the look, you like the models. If you're talking tabletop, that is what you should be going for every time, is what you think is badass, because things change all the time. But the universe of Warhammer has so much going for it. Every faction has something interesting, every character has a story, and there's a million stories to be told. The universe is vast and exciting, and while it is dark, depressing, and horrible, that is the damn charm. And everything I've told you in these two videos, is anything you could take away, is the reason why so many of us are so into this series and why we like it so much. Because with so much variety, such an expansive universe, and so much that can be done, you can find yourself having a pretty great time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it has been informative to you. If you'd like to see more of me, Bricky, we have twitch.tv/Bricky.
Everybody follow Bricky. I'm sure you already do, but thank you, Bricky.
For my streams, you have my merchandise site, in which I was wearing all of my merch, but underneath this, because I had to wear this so it wasn't black or white for the green screen, which is a little unfortunate, but it's fine. If you'd like to see merch, it is in the description. Also, if you'd like to support me on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Bricky for more videos like this, then that would also be wonderful. So Twitch, merch, Patreon, anything if you want to support, that would be fantastic. I'd appreciate it. If not, I'm just stoked you got all the way to the end of the video, and that is enough for me. So I'm going to be having some more content like this out in the future. Thank you so much for sticking around this long and being with me through this pretty rough time. That's, I think, all I got. Also, before I go, let me leave you with my favorite Warhammer quote.
Yay!
He who scoffs at the power of the las gun has never ran through a field of 1,000 of them. Bye-bye.
Yay! That's Warhammer factions. We did it. We did it! We made it through the Warhammer factions. So, this was a few years old. Clap, clap. Clap, clap. Yes, yes, we did it. We did it, chat! I made it through all the factions. I found my favorite faction. And now I want to paint miniatures. Now I want to paint miniatures. Oh no. This is a dad hobby. It is time and money investment, so chasing the meta will never make you happy. I agree so much. You should just do what you like for the aesthetics, for the story. Don't play meta if you don't like how it looks. Now you get to watch the new ones. Yes, now we can watch the new one, the updated one. I'm actually interested to see how it's changed from what the updates are, because it's always ongoing, right? Warhammer's constantly being updated. Joining Miwa and Sunny down the rabbit hole. I am. I really like the Necrons, guys. I thought it's between the orcs and Necrons, but I really like the story of the Necrons. I kind of want to paint a Necron. I would have to learn how, but I really like them. I like their aesthetic. I like their story. I like how they're kind of like old grandpas who are just like angry at the world and they don't know what's going on. Damn kids, get off my lawn back in my day. But they're like super uber powerful. I love them. They're so funny, but they're also really cool.